Alright, welcome to the channel and to the Speedy Space Marine series. Today we're going to be tackling the black-clad scions of Corvus Corax, the Raven Guard, a legion known for their mastery of shadows and stealth. All of the paints you'll need will be listed below in the description, so let's get into it. Okay, so starting from a black primer, we're going to grab some Mechanicus Standard Grey and Abaddon Black and create a mix between those two and apply this all over the model in a dry brushing fashion. Here I'm using the Artis Opus Series D medium dry brush to hit all of those upward facing areas and areas that are catching the light. So you can identify all these areas by holding your model underneath the hobby light from the lighting direction that you're choosing. Here we're just doing top down, so I'm hitting the top of the shoulder pads, top of the backpack, top of the arms, outside of the legs where the light's catching, and so on. Now, the challenge with some of the 30k schemes is that there's 3 legions that all use black armor, so we have to create some differentiation here. So we're going to be using Mechanicus Standard Grey to start building up our highlights. Again, we're applying these in a light fashion. I'm holding the brush quite far away from the ferrule, as you can see. We're just applying these in soft circular motions over the areas and some directional strokes to create some interest in those spaces. We're then going to grab Karak stone and mix that with our Mechanicus Standard Grey. This starts to warm up the Mechanicus Grey and gives us a slightly warmer highlight colour, which I think really complements the Raven Guard aesthetic. Again, we're being super light, we're holding the brush quite far back from the ferrule and just applying a light dry brush over the top of these areas, trying to use more directional strokes now to create some definition and separation between the armour components, rather than those softer circular patterns that we were using before. So then grab your extra small dry brush and we're going to use this to establish some chipping, weathering and damage to the armour. We're also essentially using this to edge highlight a number of sections across the armour, so aim for all those areas that would naturally accrue damage, like the edge of plates, the bottom of the greaves, the shoulder pads, the hands, maybe part of the face. But use this just to establish some stronger highlights in certain areas and create more separation and definition within the components. Again, this armor is going to be quite dark, so we're using these edge highlights just to create more information and more separation within the components. Grab yourself some exhaust manifold or another dark metallic. This one is from Vallejo metal color, and apply this all over the metal sections. Do your best not to hit the gun casing or any areas that you want to remain black, and again try to avoid any of those armor panels that we just finished up. But take your time, it should only take one coat over the black base for this, so it should be relatively quick. Be sure to grab all those bobbles and bolts, rivets, that's the word, on the shoulder pad as well. I'm using a size 2 Series M from Artis Opus here as well, but if you need to use a smaller a smaller brush for this, by all means go ahead and grab one. Now, to darken everything down and create that real deep black look that we need for our Raven Guard, we're going to apply a watered down version or a wash of Abaddon Black all over the surfaces. Now, we're using this essentially as a filter over the armor plates, so we don't want this to pool in any areas because we started from a black base. We've already got that separation between the armor plates. We're just using this to tone down some of those highlights, but you can be a bit more aggressive over the silver sections to create that separation between the components. Now this is how we're going to make the black really pop. So remember, we used those warm sort of yellow toned highlights earlier. We're going to use purple in the recesses, so all of the areas that are in shadow, we're going to apply a quick filter of the purple into those areas. I'm using Naggaroth Night here and I've thinned it down with some water, but if you have a purple wash or an equivalent paint, an ink maybe, you can use that. We've thinned this down because we want to have thin coats, transparent coats that just tint the shades or tint the recesses and the shadowed sections of the model. And this complement of colours between the purples and the yellows will make our blacks appear more rich they'll appear deeper and they'll appear to be more contrast in those areas by using this complement of color theory here. So this is a natural complement pair between yellow and purple. So it makes both of the colors appear to be brighter and darker. I think this is a cool way to add some differentiation between the different black armors across the 30k universe. So we're applying it into all of those shaded sections. Again, we don't really want this to pool in any of the areas. We just want it to tint all of those areas and create some color variation in there. But you can see we're always applying it from light to dark. So we're going from the lighter areas towards the shadows. And again, you can build this up over multiple passes until you're happy with the opacity of the color or the intensity of the color, depending on which purple you use. And you can already see how it's starting to tint those shaded areas and those recesses, creating more contrast between our warmer, brighter highlights, our yellow kind of tint to the highlights, and then these purple recesses. Now we're also going to use Naggaroth Night as the base for the lenses, so apply that all over the lenses and on top of that wee sensor thing. Grab yourself some Xereus purple and apply a highlight towards the inner corner and the lower edge of the lens. Again, I'm still using a size 2 here, but if you'd prefer to use a smaller brush, by all means go ahead and grab one. And ensure you get nice intensity to the color here, because this is effectively going to be one of the brightest points in the model. Then grab yourself some titanium white or your preferred white paint. Mix a bit of that in with your Xereus purple just to increase the value, and apply a highlight to the sensor thing and then towards the inner corner of each lens. Then grab your white paint, thin it down to the point where you can create small dots on your fingernail, and then apply these towards the rear corner of each lens to give you that glint effect in the back. Then once these all put together, it should look something like this, and you can see how those purples really come through. Those warmer tones in the highlights really creates this additional contrast between the model. Now if you want to see how I made these bases, there'll be a link up in the top corner. Alright, let's get them on the spinny thing and let's get a proper look at this. So I think the Raven Guard scheme with those purples and those slightly yellow warmer tone highlights just looks fantastic. It adds another dimension to quite a simplistic color scheme and adds additional contrast. Using purple in the eyes helps to complement those purple tones in the shadows and makes them appear to be more vibrant, adding more contrast to the model. I can't wait to see how you incorporate this into your Raven Guard army to get them on the tabletop quickly. If you enjoyed the process, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hopefully you found that useful. If you have any comments, questions or suggestions for future videos, please drop them below in the comments. And if you want to take your painting to the next level, I have a Patreon that's focused around feedback and coaching. You also get access to exclusive guides and content. If you want to show me what you've been working on or what you've been using these videos for, please head over to the Discord and drop some pics into the whips or the completed projects. I would love to see what you've been doing. Just want to say thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you at the next one. All links can be found below in the description.